All right, good morning. Call to order the Ambulance Oversight Committee meeting for May 10th, 2019. I'm Steve Dirksen. I'm the fire chief in Fargo and serve as the chair of the committee. Any announcements before we get going? Okay, seeing no announcements, you should have received the minutes from the November 9th meeting. Our meeting in February was canceled due to a blizzard. So I need a motion for approval of the meeting of the November 9th, 2018 Ambulance Oversight Committee. Motion by Dr. Lako. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tim Meyer. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're up to item number 3 on the agenda. Data review, response time, transport destination report. Jason Evelyn, take it away.
We have a couple more documents in this month in response to a question about the top 5 clinical impressions. So for each month previously, you had 2 sheets of paper. You got 4 for each month right now. Largely trends unchanged, no big differences there. One thing of note was February of this year was an extremely busy month, pushing 1,200 911 transports or calls within the city. Probably one of our top 5 months on record. So that was quite busy for a shortened month. But the data for the 3 months are there. Those first 2 pages, as far as the overall numbers and transport destinations and reasons, that first page is unchanged from previous graphs. And page 2 that shows the top 10 clinical impressions is the same graph that you've been receiving quarterly. Page 3, and a similar page follows for each of the subsequent months, just to explain what that is. The graph down there, top 5 clinical impressions by destination. So that is pulling that month's data, the top 5 clinical impressions that we had for our patient contacts, and then breaking that out by destination. So whether they went to Essentia, Sanford, the VA, or an assessment, no transport, no treat, no transport, or treat and release, just breaks each one of those down to say which ones went where. And then page 4, if you go to page 4, that's your top 5 clinical impressions out of transported patients and how the destination decision was made. If I went back and listened to the meeting and read the minutes, and that's what I took that request to be. So page 4 would be your top 5 clinical impressions of patients that were transported to a facility in town and how that disposition was made. As you can see by the graph with the purple bars, patient choice, as always, is by far and above the number 1 reason how we decide where those patients end up at. And then pages 5 through 13 in that first packet of smaller sheets of paper are just the subsequent months. So I'll let you review those if there's any questions.
Any comments or questions by the committee on the report? It appears that, from my memory, it looks like it's been consistent with what we've seen since the establishment of the Oversight Committee. As far as patient disposition and chief complaints, I see that we continue to behavioral emergencies seem to lead the case, and I know we all deal with that on a regular basis with that here in town. Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the next page. Jason, if you want to take us to the great big page.
So the great big page is just our data that's month by month or comparing the months by year. Again, I just draw your attention to, this this reporting period for this meeting is February, March, and April. And you see that bar in February, you know, we saw kind of a jump back in 2016 where everything jumped up, but February of 2018 was extremely busy, relatively compared with a few less days. And we'll see that reflected a little bit in response times. We're still well within our goal there, but you could see the pinch was on because it was just a very busy month. But apart from that, no other changes. Moving on to response times, February 2019 response times, that second column, our emergent responses, if we go down to the very bottom to the yellow box, on time to our calls, 96.83% of the time. Over in the column, you see our 19 calls were outside of that. Longest call was 13 minutes and 19 seconds, which was due to status and distance. Common thing when we're seeing ourselves that busy, but well above our goal of 90% for the response times in under 9 minutes. Is that correct? So despite a very busy month, stayed very well there. March moved down to, or moved up, excuse me, to 97.23% on our response times. And April was a very good month at 98.67, so we're still arriving on scene in a good, timely manner the great majority of the time.
And Jason, your times are based on from when your dispatch center receives the information from Red River Regional Dispatch, correct?
Correct.
So the time prior to that where Red River is gathering the information from the caller to you, that is not reflected at all in your times.
Correct, but did we do a 1 minute adjustment on that?
I don't believe so.
I can't remember historically with this because the response time pieces, I don't put that together. If that's set at 8 or 9 minutes, we may have shaved a minute off of that to account for time at the first piece out.
Call processing.
Okay. Have you done any work with Red River to try and gather what that is so that we can get a true, when the patient calls to arrival at patient to get that time? Because, I mean, the overall response time, the total call time is from when the person, hello, this is 911, what's your emergency, is when the clock starts, and to when you arrive on scene. I know that's what we follow, but I know there's a little bit of difficulty because there's that transfer in there. But if we could work and see that in the future, I think would be a good thing.
And we do get
Pull up
those.
to the mic a little bit, Chad. So.
And we do meet quarterly with Triple RDC and Fire, the operations subcommittee, and they do provide those numbers, so we can certainly.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great if we could get that, just so we can kind of see that overall response time, because the call processing is part of the whole call as well. So.
Are you looking, just so as we work through that or look into that, are you looking more for an overview of what those are? Because just thinking it would be very difficult to marry those up line by line.
Right. No, I understand the difficulty, but
it's that.
Just kind of in a general sense, what you're seeing and what you're getting, noticing from medical calls, what that time frame is.
I think it would be pretty easy to.
I think they're dispatching us too before they get all the information.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I think we had a kind of protocol with them that for certain things that they dispatch us before we
Right.
have the EMD coded.
Right.
So we don't always know that when so I don't know how to pick that number, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
if we could look for a way to kind
Yeah.
of look at that, I don't have the magic number, and I'd be happy to sit down with you and look at it as well and see if we can get that.
Yeah, and I think too, it would be interesting is how that data could come out of there, because if it was a primary medical call, obviously that 911 call is a very hard point in time, whereas if it was an incident where another responding agency, so typically would be law enforcement, so if the police department's on a scene for something that wasn't medically involved and then
Right.
an issue came up, tough to say how to parse those out, so.
Yeah, we have the same difficulty.
Yep,
Yeah,
okay,
I understand what you're saying.
sorry.
But for the rest of the group, some of the times when a police officer might be called to an incident and then they find out that there's a medical emergency there, and the time doesn't always reflect when the fire department or FM are notified. It starts when the time the police officer is notified, so it really elongates that, and it really makes numbers not look correct because we don't really know that there's an emergency there until the officer is there to report that.
Yep.
Chief Todd, I don't know if you have any comment on that.
No, I think that's an accurate statement. Sometimes if something gets called in as a disturbance and you get there and it might take several minutes to get there, and then you find out it's not a disturbance, it's a medical issue. So, yeah, you're gonna have a skewed time there.
But if we can kind of look at that and give just a good broad picture of what's going on, and we can talk about that in the future, but I'd be happy to sit down and work with you on that too.
So apart from that, that's all I have from a data standpoint.
Any questions on, for Jason? Seeing none, we'll move on. Other updates. Anybody wants to bring to the table?
I guess it's EMS week in about 10 days, so we'll, the ambulance services in town, along with law enforcement and fire, will have an open house in Urban Plains Park. So I think we'll have the helicopter there too. So that's something for the community.
And do you have a date for that, Tim?
Tuesday.
Let me look.
Tuesday, the 14th?
No, it's the next
weeks.
week after
Next
that.
week.
Yep.
21st.
Okay. So the week of the 20th is EMS week.
Correct. And it is the 21st, Tuesday, 4:30 to 7, I believe.
So we welcome the public to come out and see the police, the fire, the EMS, the helicopter, all those things. Come out and see what's going on and talk to the folks, and I'm sure there'll probably be a lot of good information provided at that as well, so.
Yes.
Anything else?
Fargo Marathon next week, and so it'll be a little congested various times, and working with Fargo Fire and Fargo Police and on the Moorhead side.
Plans are in place for certain mile markers to have crews stationed.
Yep. So,
It's a good thing about doing this year after year. We kind of know those key points.
Yep.
And we can put people in key positions early on, so that's a good thing.
the planning meetings seem to get shorter and shorter each year.
Yeah.
Everyone
Well,
knows what
you'd
they're
think after 20-some years, we'd have this figured out, so.
So, oh, should be a fun week.
I just want to give a shout out to FM had their 60th anniversary celebration last weekend. So 60 years of operation. Had a lot of old timers back there. I include myself in that group. So it was really fun. And then the other comment I'd just like to, maybe Tim, you can speak to this. We are pre-positioning an ambulance due to road construction. We did make an announcement on that, but that might be another thing that we could, I just don't know all the details on it. Maybe you or Chad can comment on that. Chad actually probably would know the.
Don Martin's been very involved with the cities and kind of the press releases and discussions around the road construction, primarily in the southwest area of Fargo and down in West Fargo, and so we are in response to some concerns. We're going to station an ambulance down in that area. We were concerned about that there could be delays, and we want to avoid those if we can. So during the peak times, we'll be stationing an ambulance down there. So.
And I know this morning, we're gonna be testing, West Fargo Fire and Fargo Fire are gonna be testing our new auto aid agreement in southwest Fargo and southeast West Fargo, and seeing how everything should have been taken care of at the dispatch center as of last night. They were testing overnight. So we're gonna test one more time this morning, and hopefully we'll have that auto aid moving in because changes in construction next week in that area are going to cause some difficulty.
Right.
So. Any other comments?
I just wanted to give some, sorry, Kathy over here. I just wanted to give some follow-up from our last meeting where we had mentioned Save a Life Saturday. Between our Save a Life Saturday event, the Kiwanis Pancake Feed that invited us in to do hands-only CPR this year, and the Home and Garden Show, we trained about 800 people in hands-only CPR. We also have given out about 550 of the CPR Anywhere kits to people that have promised to share them with their friends and family. And so far, we've gotten responses back that those people have taught almost 2,300 people. So we've got that many people, many more people willing to do CPR if needed, and knowing about AEDs and things like that. So kudos to our community.
Great, thanks for the update. I forgot about you back there, Kathy, so. Any other points of interest or updates? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and that's, our next meeting is set for August 9th, 2019, here in the chambers. I believe Desi will have to chair that meeting, as I will not be in town, so you're up. Anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn? All right, seeing nothing, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Tim, second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Lako. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, thank you very much.